What is the beginning of the mitzvah of Teshuvah and its core? Simply, true and wholehearted return to God. Return to God does not mean turning over a new leaf. You're not turning over a new leaf. You're getting back to your true self. That's what really Teshuvah means. In a wholehearted way. So let us understand this, and we'll be explaining now Teshuvah, repentance, based on mystical teachings, Kabbalistic teachings from the Zohar. So the Zohar says that Teshuvah, and here's the word in Hebrew, which means repentance, return. It means return. Tashuv means to return. And what are you returning? The hay. Teshuvah means to return the hay. What hay are we talking about? Hey, we're talking about two hays. Two hays in God's name. This is the Tetragrammaton. This is God's name. The Shem Havaya, the name of God's transcendence. A Yud and a Hey and a Vav and a Hey. So there's two hays here. The latter hay means Teshuvah Tata, the lower level of repentance. And then the former hay is a higher level of repentance. What it means is briefly, is sin means, I'm sorry. Sin means that the hay in God's name is disattached through a sin. And Teshuvah means that we reattach it. So the lower one means this name of God, this letter in God's name. And the higher level is this letter in God's name. What does that mean? Well, we have this chapter that's going to explain to us, chapter 4, which we just begin now. But we will understand a very deep mystical idea in the Teshuvah. Again, Tashuv, which means to return. Hey. So that's the first thing and the most important thing that we will be learning in this chapter, this concept. But before that, we have another couple of things that we need to understand. And that is that the Zohar says, again, Kabbalistic teachings, state several times that Teshuvah is ineffective when we violate the covenant, and meaning the wasteful emission of seed. How do we understand that? When we know that there's nothing that stands in the way of Teshuvah, of penitence. God always accepts sincere repentance of returning to Him. So the Reishis Chochmah explains, commentator explains on the Zohar, that the intention of the Zohar doesn't mean that penitence doesn't help. Of course it does. It helps for everything between us and God, by the way. It doesn't mean for a court of law, just parenthetically. In other words, if someone's a murderer and killed, there's a court of law that will, seek justice. Someone stole, you can't say, well, okay, I'm repenting to God. Well, fine, that's between you and God, but it's got nothing to do with the person that you stole from, or the person that was murdered because of an individual, right? There is still justice that needs to be met. That's in human court, but in the court with God, and as far as the soul is, and the cleansing of the soul, so Teshuvah helps for anything. So the Reishis Chochmah explains that when a wasteful emission of semen, that Teshuvah doesn't help. It means the lower level of penitence, but the higher one does help. So of course we need to understand what's the difference between a higher and lower level of penitence. And the final question is that the Torah tells us very clearly, And our sages expound upon this, that there's such thing called kares and misa b'dei shamayim. Kares means excision, cut off from heaven, meaning that a person will die an early death, not by a court of law, but by the hands of heaven, by doing a certain sin. For example, like eating chametz on Pesach, eating leavened bread on Passover. The law is, or the punishment rather is, that the person gets cut off early death. Or Bisei will be that, so that's before the age of 50, and then there's also before the age of 60. And we see that, for example, the prophet Hananiah ben Azur in the book of Jeremiah, as a result of his false prophecy, he was banished before God, meaning he passed away, actual death before his time. We see that by wasteful omission of seed by Er and Onan, two sons of Yehuda, of Judah, in the book of Genesis. And that wasn't even, before the age of 50. It was much before that. Sometimes it's immediate, sometimes it can last. A person can last in this world till the age of 50 or the age of 60, depending on the sin. So the Alter Rebbe asks a question, a very powerful question. Hey, we see in every generation many individuals who are liable for excision, being cut off by the hands of heaven, or for a premature death. And yet, we see so many that their lives are extended beyond 50, beyond 60. And not only that, their years are pleasant. Their life is pleasant. So it seems to be not quite the opposite, but we see the opposite is in fact true very often. How do we understand that? Torah tells us differently. But the facts in the field don't seem to bear it out. So we got some good questions here. First, we need to understand what it means, the two different levels of Teshuvah. We need to understand why, when it comes to wasteful omission, only the higher level of Teshuvah is effective. And what does it mean that a person would be cut off by the hands of heaven, early death, before 50 or 60, depending on the sin? And we see, in fact, that many people do things that are sinful, and they live much beyond those years, and even pleasant years. More to come. Well, got you sitting at the edge of the seat, waiting to hear more. And you will, God willing. Coming up. Any questions, any comments, any thoughts? A reminder, we will have a class tonight at 6:30. A Torah portion, Pinchas, powerful teachings. Come and join us 6:30. The teachings are only on Zoom. 770-770-6085 on Zoom. Put that up, please. That'd be great. Or on Facebook, Chabad ZK. That's 6:30 Eastern Standard Time, or Daylight Savings Time. New York time, Montreal time, Miami time. Okay. And then there'll be TRC tonight, Tanya Rabbi Community. Please I just put up the Zoom. I didn't put the Zoom itself, but I just put it at least. It's not a link. I'm sorry. And then there'll be a Tanya Rabbi Community TRC tonight at 8 o'clock. Those who are part of our little inner group. We have an amazing inner group. Some really special people. I mean, everybody here is special. But if you want to be part of that, let me know. Okay, I don't see any questions, any comments. Rambam is now some laws of marriage. I'm doing. Oh. Charles, please share. Go ahead, Charles. Please share with us.
How do I come off mute? Yes, Ronnie. Rabbi Ronnie, is there any way you can repeat the link? Because on Clubhouse, I don't see the link for 6:30 this evening.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to put it in there. Hold on one second. I'm going to type it in.
Thank you so much.
Okay, it's not the link. It's you have to put.
Or the room, or whatever they call it.
Yeah. Okay. In Zoom, you just put that to join in Zoom, and then you'll get that. Okay. Beautiful. Oh, Davida has a question. Okay, I didn't notice. Oh, there it is. Sorry. When one goes to the heavenly court after 120, does the Teshuvah one does in this world wipe out the sins before the heavenly court, or are we still judged on them even though we did Teshuvah? If you did Teshuvah, we mentioned this actually in chapter 3, that nothing is mentioned. Nothing is mentioned. If a person owned their stuff, and fix what they need to fix. Right. If it's with another human being, you have to ask forgiveness from them. If it's just between you and God, then it's just between you and God. Then it will not be mentioned. But that's, of course, if it's, sincere. Absolutely will not be mentioned. Very good question. All right. Amazing. All right, folks. We'll see you Rambam now for laws of marriage. Technical laws. They're very technical. All right. Beautiful. Anything else? That's it. All right. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Judaism in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you, Tanya. Have an amazing, great day. Thank you for joining.